Hi, my name is Andrew Kim, and this video is going to be about all the things that nobody ever tells you about architecture internships. This video is brought to you by Framer, so I'll be presenting everything while building a website on their platform. A little bit about myself: I am a 4th year in a 5-year professional architecture program. I've done 2 architecture internships so far, and I'm going to start a 3rd this summer. I worked at a very small residential firm, at a top 10 UK firm in their New York office, and this summer I'll be working at the #1 US architecture firm. I don't come from a family that has any connections in architecture. I am Korean American, I grew up in Minnesota, and currently attend college in New York. Both of my parents grew up in the United States, and my family currently lives in Texas. I started architecture school without knowing anything about the subject, and struggled a lot as someone who only studied STEM in high school. Hopefully I can share a little bit of what I learned with you all. I'm going to split the video into 2 sections, the first being the process of applying to internships, and the second being my experiences working in internships. Obviously, I can only talk about my personal experiences and advice I've heard from others, but I hope this video helps. Okay, for the first section, applying to internships, there are 2 subcategories: your application content and reaching out to employers. For your application, you'll need a resume, a cover letter, and a portfolio. On my resume, I was a teaching assistant for one of my professors, a club president of the American Institute of Architecture students, and a club member of another club. I also included school awards, software skills, and recommendations from professors. Reaching out to professors for opportunities to do research or to become a TA is a very good idea, and joining clubs is very important to show your ability to time manage extracurriculars with school. For the cover letter, architecture is no different from other professions, and I'm definitely no expert on this. My method was to keep it simple and to write about personal traits that wouldn't show in the resume or portfolio. Now, the portfolio is the biggest part of the application, so I'll focus on this the most. There are so many good videos out there about how to lay out a good architecture portfolio, but here are a few tips that help me. First, find inspiration on websites like Pinterest or YouTube. Keep it clean, give hierarchy to your text, and make sure all the drawings are legible. This is pretty basic advice. But here's something that a lot of people don't emphasize: all of the content of the portfolio. You should be working on your projects even after the semester ends. Almost all of the drawings in my portfolio have been edited after the project was over. Revisiting old drawings, touching them up, re-rendering your project, and making new diagrams are all ways to make your project more cohesive after the fact. This takes time, but it'll also set you apart. As you lay out your portfolio, you'll figure out which drawings need to be edited to make the spread look nicer. You should typically order your portfolio with the best project first and the second to best project last. Some people also add an additional section at the end with art projects, mini projects, or professional work. Overall, the portfolio should be clearly organized, show your design process, and be easily presentable, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a sec. Now, once I had all of my application assets done, this is how I reached out to companies. Before even applying to places, it's helpful to reach out to people who work at the place where you want to work and ask for their advice for the application process and even critique on your portfolio. Obviously, you'll also apply to the company application portals, but don't stop there. Make sure you follow up with the company's HR or employees that you've been in contact with. Half of the battle is just getting them to look at your portfolio, and anything you can do to make them give a little bit of a closer look is really good. For the method of communication, I've used email and LinkedIn to get in touch with people. After this, hopefully a few places will get back to you to schedule an interview, and this is a bit of a unique process for architecture. In my experience, these are single round interviews. You might be asked to give a short introduction about yourself, but the interview is mostly just you presenting your portfolio. This is why I said that your portfolio must be easily presentable. While you're making your spreads, also be thinking about the script that you're going to use when presenting your projects. You should know your work very well and be able to talk about the design choices you made and some of the interesting moments in the work. Some companies might ask you to pick a single project to talk about the most during your interview. Also, have a couple of questions ready to show that you've done research on the firm and just to ask anything that you're genuinely interested in knowing. After you interview, make sure you follow up on email or LinkedIn. Okay, now finally for the next portion, what is interning actually like? This varies a lot. One thing I hear a lot of people talk about is the company size. I've only interned at one super small firm and one fairly large firm, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. The nice thing about interning at a bigger place is that there's usually more structure to the internship program. This might include field trips, office events, or any other educational opportunities prepared for the interns. Smaller firms in this sense will be less structured, but in both cases, your supervisor will matter a lot. Architecture projects at both small and large scales have very fast deadlines, and how your supervisor delegates work will affect your experience a lot regardless of the company size. It's a bit of a shot in the dark when applying because even within the same company, you can have very different experiences based on which team you're in. To me, the biggest difference between small and large firms is the type of projects that you'll be working on. My advice would be to really think about what type of work you want to do, whether you want to try small scale, usually residential, or larger scale projects. At the smaller company I worked at, I had a more flexible schedule, but at the larger place, I was very happy with all the free food, intern experiences, and the project that I was working on. I was able to make more friends because there were more interns, and I also joined the office soccer team. That was just my experience, and if you can't tell, I'm a bit biased. I prefer to work in larger offices, but you'll have to decide your preference for yourself. Okay, so in conclusion, make sure you take time outside of school to work on your application assets. Be proactive about reaching out to employers, and be able to present your work very clearly. As you're doing all this, you should make sure to think about what kind of experience you want and what kind of companies that means you should apply for. Lastly, I have a few extra tips that help me throughout this process. To be able to talk about architecture well, it helps to consume a lot of architectural media. Personally, I enjoy watching architecture lectures online and reading a lot of architecture books. Other people will be able to tell when you're genuinely interested in what you're talking about, so I would really recommend taking time to learn more about the things you find interesting. For some starting places, I'd recommend watching the YouTube lectures from Harvard GSD or Columbia GSAP, following architectural Instagram accounts, picking up some architecture books from the store, and going to whatever events you have locally. For a second tip, architecture can get a bit lonely and toxic at times as a profession, so it's important to surround yourself with good people, including friends and family. For me, being a part of a church community has helped me a lot with the mental struggles of college. Also, having good friends in your architecture program is a good way to bounce ideas and learn about new techniques from your peers. Lastly, thank you Framer for sponsoring this video. With Framer, you can make a website for yourself as easily as I did in this video. It's a great way to make a personal website or portfolio, and it comes with a ton of templates, custom cursors, and collaborative features. If you want to make a website easily and for free, click the link in the description. I hope that this video was helpful in giving some insight in navigating architecture internships, and leave any other questions you have for me down below. Bye!